Okay guys, so today we're multiplying fractions. We multiplied fractions today. And it's a continuation from yesterday, where yesterday was whole numbers times fractions. Today we're doing fractions times fractions, but the concepts still stay the same. And actually a little bit easier than what we did yesterday, because yesterday you had to take the whole number and put it over 1. Today you're just going to take the fractions and multiply them by each other. Case in point, let's say we have 1/2 times 2/3. So if I have 1/2 times 2/3 and I just multiply straight across, remember, numerator times numerator, denominator times denominator, multiply across, I get 2/6. And as many of you may be thinking, you can simplify that down to 1/3. Alright? Now, I do want to go over the area model of multiplication. I know you guys kind of fought me on this today, but I do want to go over it. Just because it is part of the standard, being able to show how to multiply the fractions, and that's not the best. It's not the best. Let's see if we can fix it a little bit here. Okay? So, I have my rectangle. Now, I'm doing 1/2 times 2/3. So the concept behind this is that I'm going to take my rectangle and I'm going to break it, I'm going to cut it in half. Because what I'm actually trying to say here is I want 1/2 of 2/3. So if I cut my rectangle in half, I simply just cut it in half. Alright? Now, I want 1/2 of 2/3, so now I need to cut my box, all right, my rectangle into thirds. Here and here. Okay? So now I have 1/3, 1/3, 1/3, 1/2, 1/2. So I know that, so if I have a half and then 2/3, so if I just filled in a half, let's say if I just filled in half of the rectangle, that would be it. Okay? Now I want 2/3 of that. So 1/3, 2/3, then I won't need this part. Okay? Which will leave me with 2 filled in. Alright? Now if you look here, if we count all our spaces, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and how many are filled in? 2, 6. But also you can look at it this way. If I take this filled in block and I bring it down here, I actually have 1/3 is actually filled in. Okay? And that's the area model. Now remember, I said on the homework, try to use it. I know some of you were fighting me on it. You can always go back and check your work by using the standard algorithm. Now, let's talk about I talked about this with you. I talked about this with you guys with my son. He likes to do the cross reduction. Okay? So remember when I worked this out, I said 1/2 times 2/3 equals 2/6. But then I had to simplify and find 1/3. Well, as my son would say, well, Dad, 2 and 2, they're the same thing. If I divide 2 by 2, I get 1. If I divide this 2 by 2, I get 1. Now, if I do my multiplication, I get 1 times 1 is 1, and 1 times 3 is 3. Now I have cross reduced. So those of you that were fighting me on it, on the whole cross reduction, right? And the reason why the cross reduction helps is when we get going a little bit further down the road, you're going to have some of those larger mathematical problems where it's, let's say, 24 over 36 times, I don't know, let's say, we'll say 72 over 48, okay? Now, if I try to use the standard algorithm of multiplication on this, if I multiply straight across, that means I've got to do 24 times 72. So if I'm going to work that out, okay, 72 times 24, I'm going to have to go through the whole process of doing 24 times 72, and then 36 times 48. Okay, so if I do work that out, that gives me 8 28, so that's 7 times 4. Placeholder, 2 times 2 is 4, 2 times 7 is 14. Now add that up, 8, 2, carry my 1, 6 plus 1 is 7, and 1. So that would give me a numerator of 1728, and then my denominator, I'd have to do the work for that one as well, so 48 times 36, 6 times 8, 6 times 8, all right? I told you guys today I have a problem with 7 times 8. I also have a problem with 6 times 8. I always continue to forget that 6 times 8, I end up going 6 times 6 is 36, plus 6 is 42, plus another 6 is 48, and that's how I get to my 48. I don't know why the 6 is getting me. 6 times 4 is 24, 24 plus 4 is 28. Placeholder, 3 times 8 is 4, carry the 2. 3 times 4 is 12, 12 plus 2 is 14. So once again, like I said, I'm working with these big numbers, all right? All right, I'm working with these big numbers. Now I work that out and I get 1728. So actually, what did I find out? My answer is going to be 1. But the whole point of this was to show you guys if I cross reduce, 36, this becomes 1, this becomes 2, this becomes 1, and this becomes 2. I get 1 times 2 is 2, 1 times 1 is 2. So that gives me an answer of 1. Okay? It's amazing how some of these things work out. So, remember guys, you can cross reduce here. Okay? To show an easier one, and I did this today. Alright? To show an easier cross reduction question, let's go back to one of those that we seen earlier today. Let's go back to the 1/2 times 2/3. And like I said before, I see the 2's. I'm dividing it by 2 because that's what they had, that greatest common factor between the between 2's. Let's try a better one for you guys. How about let's do it this way? What if it was 1/4 times 2/3? Okay, 1 and 3, 1's as prime, so we can't do anything. 3's prime as well. 2 and 4. Okay, they have a greatest common factor of 2, so I can divide both numbers by 2. If I divide this by 2, I get 1. If I divide 4 by 2, it gets 2. 1 times 1 is 1. 2 times 3 is 6. It gives me 1/6. If I use the standard algorithm, it would give me 2 over 12, which I would have had to simplify down to 1/6. Okay, guys, so that's multiplying fractions. If you got any questions, bring them tomorrow. Remember, we are working towards division. We're working towards division of fractions. So keep working on these. If you got questions, obviously bring them in. Don't forget that if you have that whole number in the questions, you put it over 1 and multiply it through.